Got it. I'm the only one. I'm a little early. I'm a little early. Do you love nature? It says. I put that up in front of the screen. Well, I think I'm very early, 8 minutes early. Nobody else is there. Nobody else is there. If I'm on the right spot, I must be. It's always in the drawer in the plastic container on. And there is some oat milk. And what else? Oh, there's probably some sour cream, Sasha. Sour cream or cream cheese. Oh, nice, huh? What else? Peas. Are there any peas? Check. Check and see. There are microgreens. Oh, it might.
There's a 3 by fee for your preparation.
A 3. What fee?
But
3 bite fee. You already taken that. I'm the only one at the meeting. Isn't that something? 7 minutes to go. It's a different committee. It's the Conservation Committee, which doesn't have anything to do with conservation, so they say. Isn't that something? What does a Conservation Committee do? How does it relate to conservation? Conservation of what? No, that's not their goal. Oh, one more person. Kenneth Alapidis.
you are asleep. Yeah.
Hi, Joy.
Oh,
Hi there. Did you start the meeting as the host?
no,
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Thank
nobody's
you.
here yet.
No, I know
cl-
there was an issue I believe there was an issue last week where someone came on early and
I'm not a host.
okay, great. That's great.
Should I get off and get back on?
No, I didn't say that. I'm not sure about that.
Did I click the wrong thing?
I do not know that
I
either.
thought I clicked.
We
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yep. We have 5 minutes, so we'll see if there's an issue or not.
Who are you?
I'm on the commission.
Well, I didn't recognize the name, so I just wondered.
Okay.
Some people are anxious. I like to be early.
I do too.
Ah, some more.
What those? You find Mousy? Did you find Mousy? Where's Mousy? Show Mama, where's Mousy?
My. I,
All right, good evening, everybody. I'd like to open a meeting for the Wakefield Conservation Commission for March 7th. First up is roll call. Haley,
Yes.
Jim,
Yeah, here.
Ken,
Here,
Paul,
Yes, here.
Peter.
Here.
Teresa.
Here.
Okay, the first item is the approval of the minutes from, that would be, let's see, February 23rd. Any corrections or comments? And if not, would somebody like to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, Haley,
Yes.
Jimmy,
Yes.
Ken,
yes,
Paul,
Yes,
Peter,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
and I also approve those minutes. I do want to announce that DEP 313-620-100 Hemlock Road has been continued. We found out last night, and there is an updated agenda that was posted. So there will be no discussion on Northeast Metro Tech tonight. It will be continued. At this point, we believe to the next meeting, but I would say check the website for updates. Also, 10 Broadway has been postponed per the applicant's request to April 4th. So anybody here for 10 Broadway, that has been postponed until April 4th. We don't actually have any public hearings. We do have a number of other business items that will be taken care of tonight. So anybody who would like to jump off, feel free to do so, or if you'd like to stay behind, that's fine also.
Oh, my gosh.
Let's see, Rebecca. Do you have any particular order or sequence you'd like to?
Well, I can see, I think that there are, can we start with the tree removal request? Because I think there are a couple of folks on here for that.
Sure.
Okay, that'd be great.
Which
Thanks.
which one would you like to start with? Heron Pond is first.
Yep.
It looks like.
I think, yep, he's here.
Okay, is there somebody here from Heron Pond?
Yes, Steve Mangano.
Hey, Steve.
How you doing?
Where did we leave off with this, Rebecca? Was Elaine going to go back out? I don't recall.
I don't think she was gonna go back out. I think we had the pictures from those pines and we went out to take a look. They're in the front behind that first building. Maybe we can pull those up. If you don't have them handy, I can probably find them. I know there were some questions regarding some staking. That was a couple weeks ago. That's all I really remember at this point. But we can go through the pictures. I believe we have the arborist letter. We have everything we're looking for. You guys probably just will refresh our memory.
Yeah, I do have the letter handy. I could share that. I will need to look for the pictures. Let me at least share the letter.
The pictures are around February 7th.
All right, we did go through this letter previously. Was it 3 trees that were going to be
That's true.
removed?
We'd like to take 5 down, actually.
I do quickly see a note on tree 5. I do not recommend removing this tree at this time, but it should be monitored for any changes due to the basal injury or state of the crown. Tree number 5, white pine, 22-inch, and approximately 60 feet tall. Tree 4, they're recommending be removed.
Can I address the commission?
Yeah, sure.
So I'd like to address the commission and explain to them what has prompted this.
Okay.
So Christmas Eve, we had a tree come down on building 1. If it had come down 2 feet to the right, it would have gone through the woman's bedroom. Branches did puncture her ceiling into her room. Thank God she was on the bottom floor. She was an elderly woman. She was totally against us ever taking trees down back there, as we were as well. But the condition of these trees, they're, I don't want to say they're all suspect, but as you'll notice from the report, there's a concern on several of these trees. On Christmas Eve, we not only lost that one tree, we lost 2 tops from another tree, or another 2 trees, one of which landed in the neighbor's yard and almost took out their deck as well. And like I said, if this tree came down 2 or 3 feet to the right, it would have gone right through her bedroom, and which right below the roof is a 3-window casement, which there's not a ton of structure there. All we're trying to do is prevent anybody from getting hurt in the future. And we think it's a safety issue where, again, the one you see in that picture right there, that's the top that blew off and went in the neighbor's yard. And that is quite a distance to her deck. Being good neighbors, we paid to remove it from their yard. But we don't want to, that deck's totally trashed. That's going to be replaced this summer, but we don't want to take down any more trees than we have to, but with the safety issue, we're very concerned with these 5 trees.
How many trees are actually in the group? If you had to count them up.
There's probably 12 trees in the grove.
Yeah, because I mean, once you start thinning them out like that, they're even more susceptible to breaking with the winds because you took away the buffer.
I understand that.
Yeah. So I don't know, if we take down 5 trees, there's gonna be about seven left, maybe. Steve, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
When I met Elaine out there, Elaine also had mentioned and noticed that this evidently some white pine disease. And these are all, according to her, they were showing some of that as well, some thinning of the needles. I think it's inevitable that these 5 trees that we're concerned with are going to eventually come down. It's not just the destruction of the property, it's a life safety issue from our perspective.
The one that the tree surgeon said was okay, you don't agree with that, or you think that's still not a good choice?
That's the tree that's on the corner. And that tree is overhanging the building quite a bit, and we've had significant branches fall off that in the past.
Yeah.
I think I heard Rebecca mention something about stakes. What was the question with regards to the stakes?
I just remember that when that first meeting, that there was some miscommunication on, there were a couple of neighbors who were wondering about the stakes. So at the time I had just suggested that they ask you directly. I don't know very much about the stakes. I was just recalling from that meeting that I guess some survey work had been done. Somewhat irrelevant of this tree conversation.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the trees. We have the property surveyed.
Yeah.
We don't know where our property's lines are in a lot of areas, so we had the entire perimeter surveyed.
There were just some questions, so at the time, I had suggested they just ask you directly.
Yep,
So that's all recalling from that.
okay, so,
That's about the stakes.
okay, thank you.
All right, so Steve, you're recommending that, requesting that all 5 be removed.
That's correct.
Um, Anybody have any additional thoughts? Or concerns?
I worry that taking down the 5 trees is gonna cause the rest of them to eventually crumble. But I don't have a solution.
Yeah. At tree 1, there is a note. There are some issues with tree 1, saying I do not consider this defect will adversely affect the tree within the next year, but it should be monitored.
What if we left the 5th tree, the one that the tree surgeon said is, it sounds like it's a pretty secure tree, and take down the other 4?
It has a basal wound, which has affected the diameter of the tree.
Okay,
And again, it should be monitored. So to me, that, you know, it's a suspect tree. And
did he inventory all the trees while he was there, or he just went to the ones that you were thinking you wanted
no,
to
they
take?
inventoried all the trees that were there.
So the other trees, he had no problem with?
That's what I recollect, yes.
Yeah, the 3 of them are being recommended to be removed for sure. Trees 1 and 5, according to the letter, are not actually being recommended at this time, though they do have defects in both of them.
I got a stupid question. I really don't know this answer, so I'm asking. Can you top a tree off and have it still live?
Not to my knowledge, but I'm not a tree expert.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
the pines have all their needles on the top portions.
Yeah, you'd probably kill them, right?
And to
There
see,
is something to be said about leaving it though for a snack.
Who's that?
Haley, you're a little
This is
muffled.
Haley. Can you hear me now?
A little
Yeah.
bit better.
Oh, I was just saying there's something to be said about leaving it as a snag, to leave it for wildlife, for the bugs and whatnot.
Yeah,
But eventually it will rot and come over. And the size of those trunks, I mean, with regards to tree number 1, I mean, she's saying that it won't affect the tree within the next year, but it should be monitored. To me, that if you look at the size of that tree, if that tree did come down, it's going to kill somebody if somebody's in that unit. And
How
they're all
close is that one
these
to the,
trees are all leaning towards the buildings.
Yeah. How close is the closest tree number 1 to the unit?
Number 1 is the closest to the building. It's probably within 10 feet of the building.
Okay.
And the other trees are probably within 15, 20 feet.
Okay.
And again, we're not asking to take them all down. And I understand that once you take some down, you take some of the protection away, but when 3 of the 5 basically are dead or dying, one needs to be monitored extremely closely, which is the biggest tree. And we know that we have a lot of branches that fall off of that one, and we constantly repair that roof on that building. And then tree number 5 is suspect as well. So we're not asking to take down the 15 trees, just the 5.
And kind of says how close are these to the wetlands? They're right next to it, right?
The biggest tree is not the closest to the wetlands. They're all within the buffer zone. They're all within 10 to 20 feet of the water, depending upon the time of the year. So the soil is also, so the tree that came down, literally the soil it's on the edge, and that's the one that snapped at the base. And the stump in the ground was actually leaning. So it snapped and the whole thing moved over.
Okay.
What about any replication? Especially for 1 and 5, if they're not dead.
Well, we would definitely want to put some shrubs in that area.
Well, there is a replacement requirement in the tree policy. Replacement or donation to the Habitat Replacement Fund.
We would definitely want to replace some, put some plantings in there, something that would go along with the wetlands.
Okay, so would the commission have them do a combination of plantings and the rest would be made up by the Habitat Replacement Fund?
We could discuss what type of replacement would be possible.
Because those are sizable trees.
Yeah, and you get a kind of a good shot from this picture as to the cluster in proximity. You know, they are whatever, 60 feet plus. I mean, even a snag, 15-foot snag in some cases could come down and still hit the structures.
You probably wouldn't leave a 15-foot snag
You
anyway.
wouldn't be able to.
No, but you can leave, between 4 and 8, so 6-foot snags, whatever distance that wouldn't, have any damage to the closest structure.
But if we left a stump, or I guess you're calling it a snag, that would prevent us from planting some sort of shrubbery there because of the stump. We'd want to take these out, de-stump them, and plant some shrubs there.
What about a replacement tree? Couldn't you put a replacement tree in of some sort that would work better for the area?
We'd have to talk to an arborist about that. I mean, like a pine tree?
I don't know what would work, but
Well, like a maple tree, the broadcast of the is really too big. But we definitely want to put something in there.
Yeah,
It's probably pretty acidic soil too for those pines to be growing like that. So you need to be careful with what is planted
Yep.
in that area.
yeah.
And again, we would work with an arborist and a landscaping company for that. It's not something we would plant ourselves.
I like that. I like that idea that Judy's come up with.
Well, I think it should be adhered to if it's in the policy. If they're, planting of shrubs or whatever they come up with is fine, but then it's the per linear foot where those are large trees and they're not dead, then it should be,
Well, 3 of them are dead.
right. No, I understand that.
So they'd have to make up for 2 trees,
Yes,
basically. So yeah,
yes.
you're willing to do that, aren't you, Steve?
I would run it by the board. If that's what the commission asks us to do, the board's going to honor it. I mean, we work with the commission. We always have.
Okay.
I think if you could incorporate at least 1 snag, maybe 2, in a location where you'd still allow plantings, that would probably be the best case scenario.
Can I also ask that you work with Rebecca to choose the plantings, the shrubs, just to ensure that there's something that will be, that will be adaptable to that area, that would work for you, it would look nice and it would survive
Yeah,
long term.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Can we also provide a copy of the tree replication policy?
It's on our
website,
website.
actually, isn't it?
Right, yeah, it's on our website.
Under
Yeah.
forms.
Steve, did Elaine give you that already, the tree policy?
Nope.
Okay, she typically brings it with her, but, okay, I have your email, so I can, if you
Yeah,
don't find
please,
it,
please send it along.
yep. Or you can look on the website. If you have trouble finding it, then email me. How's that?
All right, so where have we landed with this?
Well, I would say we go with the tree policy. Allow him to cut down the 5 trees. And then he has to work with Rebecca or Elaine to come up with a planting plan to mitigate for the 2 trees that he owes us.
Okay. Anyone else from the commission have any comments or concerns with that plan? That sounds reasonable.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, can people from the public ask questions? Or,
Well,
Are we-
this is really, it's a discussion between us and the applicant here. It's not a public meeting or hearing, I should say, but it is a public meeting.
it's more of a
Sasha, what is
comment.
your, Okay, yes, what is your question or comment, Sasha?
Uh,
Yeah, Please
I'm just-
identify yourself too, for the record.
Hi, my name is Sasha and I live in Melrose and I'm just curious about strategy around native plantings and what is Wakefield, does Wakefield have any conservation requirements now just around native planting? And is that something we could make recommendations on to people who are making changes such as removing trees? Is there, I'm just wondering, because I know native planting now is really a big important thing for pollinators and birds and everything like that. So,
As part of our planting requirements in the tree policy, it requires native species.
okay, great. Thank you
Right.
very much.
Just to confirm, right, Judy? At least the newest version did.
Yeah, I was just looking for my hard copy and I'm not finding it.
Did the newest version end up getting finalized, or are we using the
Oh,
2021?
here it is.
I'll come here.
Actually, I do have the latest copy. I believe it's the latest copy.
So if the person who is requesting the tree removal, is there any support in helping them understand about options for native planting?
Yes.
Yes, through the agent.
Okay,
Elaine,
great.
Elaine goes through that thoroughly with them.
Okay, thank you very much. I just, I think it's an important thing just to keep in mind, I guess, if it's
Yeah,
an
and the-
option,
And the
even as a
replacement
Sorry.
standard, indicates planting within the buffer zone must be a native species or cultivar of a native species approved in advance by the commission and or its agents.
Okay, great.
And this
Thank-
policy is on the website.
Okay, thank you very much for answering my question. Thank you.
You're welcome. I do see another hand raised. Bob, please identify yourself for the record.
Bob Wegel, Reading, Massachusetts, board member of the Friends of the Middlesex Fells Reservation. The question was raised whether a tree could be trimmed and would still grow, and the answer is yes, sort of. If it has, for example, 2 leaders, could cut one of them off, and the second leader would grow. I've used this technique up in my cottage in Maine. Whenever a tree gets too tall, I consider, is there a leading trunk that, if taken off, would leave enough trees that the remainder would survive? And in general, it does. But the picture here suggests they're typically single trunk trees, and to lop off the only leader would likely kill it if there was very little foliage beneath it.
They are all single stem trees.
Yes, as most pines, tend to be. Thank you, Bob. All right, so we'll make sure you get a copy of the tree replacement policy. We are going to allow the removal of all 5, and there will be replication for 2 of the ones that the arborist is not, fully recommending to be removed. And Rebecca and or Elaine will work with you, Steve, on replacement strategy.
Okay. So we'll get a written order from the commission.
Yeah, we can have a letter sent to you.
Yeah, we should write a letter to stipulate what we say.
Do you want to take a vote? You typically
Sure.
take a vote.
Yeah, we should take a
Yes.
vote. Good idea.
All right, so somebody like to make a motion to approve the removal of the 5 trees with a mitigation or replacement strategy for 2 of them.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
I'll third it.
Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor? Haley,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
and I also vote yes.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Bob, I think a couple people joined the meeting after your announcement about the postponement of 100. Do you want to repeat that just in case they came late?
Sure, hang on, stop sharing. Just take a look. All right, so for anybody who may have joined late, I did announce that 313-620-100 Hemlock has been continued. And 10 Broadway also has been continued. 10 Broadway has been postponed until April 4th. And we don't exactly know if 100 Hemlock will be on the next meeting or not at this point. It was a late scratch yesterday, and the website was updated, and I know Rebecca reached out to a number of residents that she had email addresses for to inform them. But anyways, both those have been continued. All we have tonight is some other business and tree removal items to cover. All right, so Rebecca, would you like to move on to 41 Coolidge Park?
Yes,
Tree removal?
please. I think I sent you those pictures on March 2nd.
March 2nd. Okay. Yes. 41 Coolidge Park. I will share my screen. Was there a letter accompanying this one also?
Elaine said she sent the arborist letter. She said she sent it to you, Bob.
Okay, hang on.
I'll look for it also. I don't know if she copied me on it. Is the homeowner here maybe?
Is there anybody here from 41 Coolidge Park? I don't see the letter for that. I have 3 pictures. I do have a letter for Robert Street and the Heron Pond letter, all on that date.
Maybe we can move on to Robert Street,
Okay, Robert Street.
because I think the homeowner is here.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
All right, hang on for 1 sec. All right, so 30 Robert Street, go ahead.
Sure, I can address the commission. So we had a large tree branch come down on a neighbor's fence. Luckily, it actually mostly cleared the fence and landed entirely in their yard on February 24th. That raised a lot of concern with me, so I phoned Keith's Trees that morning, and Jay, who's an arborist, came over, and we actually asked him for a quote for clearing the branch, but he pointed up at the two trees and said that those might be kind of dangerous to have right so close to our house after seeing that large of a branch come down. And we're tightly in proximity to our two neighbors. So the size of those two white pines, they could actually come down on our house, but also either of the neighbors' houses. That's how large they are. So that's why I called the commission to see about having these trees removed for safety reasons, much like the last person on the call.
I do have the letter up. I assume everybody had a chance to read it.
Do we have a picture of the?
Yeah, I'm looking to see if there is photos. I don't know if I have any.
I can send them again. I can send them again.
Okay.
So, Adam, so you were not planning on removing these trees. The arborist suggested you remove them. And I noticed his letter didn't say they were diseased. He was just concerned about the fact that limbs might be falling off and that they were close, right? Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. It didn't really dawn on me to have them removed. But yeah, we've had some large branches come down this winter. I don't know if it's been a historically windy winter. It didn't seem to be as much of an issue last year, but part of what's also happening with the trees is our prior neighbor let this English ivy grow up all over them.
Mm.
And so we had to cut and kill the ivy last year. And so now we have these large trees that are just covered in that dead ivy. So I don't know if that's been causing any kind of damage to the trees. Elaine didn't seem to think they were diseased per se, but she also mentioned there might be a blight issue on the trees that might be starting. So in terms of the overall health of the trees, it's hard for me to say where it's at, but Jay, the arborist, didn't say they were diseased when he was there. Just more of a safety risk for the homes, given the size of the branches that have been coming down. And also the trees, I don't know if you have the picture available, but they're so closely, and you guys know a lot more about trees than I do, but they're very close together. So you find that the tree branches tend to be kind of like lopsided. They're heavy to one side of the tree.
Mhm.
And so one tree in particular is really leaning hard towards the neighbor's property.
So there's just the two trees though.
Yep.
Can you put that picture up again? It was kind
I'm
of,
looking for the right one. I'm not finding Robert Street.
Did you not get it yet?
No, I've got Coolidge Park. Oh, here it is.
Rebecca sent it out this afternoon.
I've got it now. Hang on. Okay.
okay, so
So
Which
here's
one
the
you want?
tree covered with the ivy.
is that the one that we want to take down?
Yep.
Okay. Is there a stream back there?
Yes, there is.
Okay, so those two big pine trees you want to take down, is that what it is?
That's correct. Yeah, and I don't know if it matters. I mean, you're obviously interested in the photos of the trees. I was able to send over a couple photos of the damage from or just the branch that had come down on February 24th. I sent that over to Rebecca. I don't know if it made it over in time for the commission to review.
Yeah, I don't have that one. We do have the note from Elaine here.
Rebecca sent out those photos this afternoon, a little after 4, Bob.
Is there one with the damage also?
Yeah, it's three photos with it says conservation letter attached is what it's.
Too many emails. What time was that one at, Paul?
I've got it as at 4:20 this afternoon.
And what about replication? Because this is actually located in Zone B, which is the Crystal Lake watershed.
Yeah, so I did review the policy today. The tree company did not mention, and so they're based in Wakefield. They actually didn't mention anything about that aspect of taking the trees down to me. So
Yeah, that wouldn't be up to them. It's what's in the policy is what I'm saying.
yeah. So unfortunately, they didn't prepare me for that part of it. So I don't really have a response today. I mean, we certainly have no problem.
No, I'm sorry.
cutting-
I should have been clear. I was asking the commission.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I'm
no
sorry.
problem.
What's that one? Look, is this another site or is this?
No, that's the tree limb that came down.
So that's the branch that came down then.
Yeah,
Okay, not the tree, the branch.
the tree limb, I had said.
Oh, okay.
There's an over
Yeah,
view.
yeah. Well,
So the trees are not diseased. And the homeowner didn't even think about doing it himself, and the arborist suggested we take them down. I don't know.
well, the one that the limb broke off of, that thing is that able to survive?
They drop limbs all the time.
Yeah, but did you see the size of it? It looked like it was half the
Yeah.
tree.
No, it isn't. But I mean, it is close. It's not, I don't think taking it down is. I mean, I think that's the only, if they're concerned about safety, then I think that's reasonable.
Bob, can you pull up, are you able to pull up the tree policy?
Not quickly. I would need to dig for that or go to the website. Bear with me and I will get to the website.
I mean, there is a water area.
I have a hard copy of the tree policy right in front of me. But bear with me. It would
Well,
be
it's in the
easier if
Crystal
somebody
Lake
else
watershed.
were-
That's why I asked.
it would be
But Judy,
easier-
regardless, he would still have to replace it if we said it was okay.
Yes,
Yeah, so
yes,
they-
I'm just saying it's more of a heightened concern to me because it's, I mean, that's a secondary drinking source, so it's a more imperative area to have some kind of protection.
Okay. I have it. It would be easier if somebody else were doing the picture and digging for the info, but
I've got the
Here
tree
it is.
policy. Oh, there it goes.
Is this the most recent version, Ken?
It's what's posted on the website. It matches what I have for the,
It's what's posted on the website, but it isn't.
It's not the most recent version.
but
I
it
didn't think
says
so.
amended
There is
9/9/21. I know there's a 22 version.
Yeah, there's an 11/11/22 as well.
Yeah,
So
I've
we
got
have-
that hard copy, I believe, right in front of me.
We approve that, so it just needs to be put on the website.
Yeah.
Bob, I could pull up the newest one if you want.
Okay.
Rebecca, can you put that on the website? Thank you.
Can you see it?
Yep. Thank you, Ken.
What is it you're looking for in particular?
I just want to make sure, looking at the policy, that's all. So
Oh.
I'm looking, can you scroll up to the bottom of the first page again, Ken? Sorry. Guidelines, here we go. Just looking, yeah, the second bullet, if the homeowner contends that the tree is dead or diseased and therefore compromised. Yeah, I thought there was a requirement that they be diseased or compromised, I guess.
That is the policy.
Right, so, since these are neither diseased nor compromised, I don't know why we would approve the removal.
We can approve the removal under the tree mitigation requirements,
Right.
but then you'll have to provide mitigation on that replacement ratio.
So, sorry, so I don't have a copy of this newest policy, but it does look like it's very similar to the hard copy policy I was provided by Elaine. So in this situation, you're saying because it's zoned in a certain area, we would have to go the route of replacing the trees. Even the donating to the replacement fund would not be an issue, would not be a possible resolution in this aspect of the policy for us. We would have to plant new trees.
Well, you
Is
know,
that correct?
we kind
No,
of,
no,
kind
that
of-
isn't correct.
It's an either or, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think at the very bottom, it actually spells that in the event, there it is.
It's only if it's not practical. Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, we would prefer plantings, right, rather than
Right.
money.
Yeah, so the arborist had mentioned something about the trees being on an embankment, and this is, again, like, I'm not educated in this area, so I was kind of taking his word for it and trying to remember correctly what he was saying. I don't know if that would present an issue as far as practicality in terms of replanting, but the area is slightly sloped. It's not just completely flat. Elaine didn't speak to that aspect of it when she was there for the site visit.
yeah.
I
So
don't
what
know.
is is it Crystal Lake actually that it's abutting, or is it a stream of Crystal or what?
It's Crystal Lake.
It
It's in the
is.
watershed to Crystal Lake. It's right there.
And it's in the buffer zone anyways,
Right.
so.
So you
think the
wouldn't
point
have to
is if it's in-
replant if you chose to donate to you could choose to donate to the Habitat Replacement Fund instead.
But would it make sense to put up some sort of barrier shrub with, some sort of food source or something of that nature?
I think so. And Rebecca could help them choose some species.
Yeah, I'm not
That
sure how
would
close
last.
it is to the water, so we'd have to obviously pick something appropriate High bush blueberry would need to be very close.
Yeah, button bush. I
Sure.
mean, there are a lot of choices that are.
Yeah, we just
Yeah,
want to
sure.
make sure that would
Yep.
be appropriate.
It's not on the water at Crystal Lake.
No, it's the watershed.
Oh, okay.
But we're reasonable. Wouldn't we want to try to put a tree back in?
Is it
Rather
providing
than
canopy? Is it providing canopy right now to Crystal in any way?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't tell from the picture.
Why don't you have
Too far
Rebecca
from
give
the
some
lake.
suggestions?
Yeah,
I agree.
sure.
Rebecca, you didn't go out there, Elaine did?
Correct.
And did Elaine have any recommendations?
I think she had a few, I don't know if she had recommendations as far as replacement plantings. She had a little small narrative in the email. I can pull it up. Let me just look real quick. Just give me one sec.
The trees that are damaged, are they pine trees?
They're not damaged.
Well, one of them's broken in half, his limb broke off of it.
Yes.
It's one
Yeah.
limb, it's one limb that fell off.
But to see the size
Right,
of it.
I understand that, and that's what happens with pines.
I'm just saying, is it a pine tree or,
Yeah, that's a white pine, Jimmy.
okay,
So Elaine said in her email, here are a photo of 2 mature white pine trees on the property. They're at the edge of the lawn on top of a small hill that leads down to the stream as shown in the photo. The stream is approximately 30 feet from the trees. The trees are dropping the large limbs below the canopy, and he's concerned about safety, and the house is located about 30 feet from those trees. Give him a copy of the tree policy. He sent a letter from Keith's. That was Elaine's.
Thank you, reporting. Thank you, Rebecca.
So Rebecca, you said stream?
Yeah, it was in the first picture.
Ken, do you have those handy? You want me to go back? I mean, it would be nice to have a buffer of some type. Between that stream.
Also, what about leaving both of them as snags, like 6-foot snags? That seems to be a perfect spot because it's not close to the yard. Would provide some good habitat. Nutrients for the soil as it breaks down.
Sorry, Bob, I didn't know the photos.
All right, here it is.
well. What are the surrounding trees? They're not pines, are they?
Just those 2 it look like.
Yeah,
I see some maples in here, it looks like.
I would put some trees in that grow a canopy.
Yeah, they look like they're the only pines in the immediate area.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in this habitat, is it more advisable to plant maples because they don't grow as large? So sort of that safety concern isn't quite as apparent, or is that not the case? If we were to go the route of planting new trees there.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things to think about. Being that close to, on the bank and close to that stream, you do probably want something that will handle that wet area like a red maple or something of that nature, but Elaine or Rebecca can certainly recommend some appropriate plantings for the area. It would be nice to, it would be nice to have canopy replacement. It'd also be nice to have maybe some sort of barrier that would provide food, a food source. So I think the best thing to do would be let Rebecca and or Elaine kind of come on out and make some suggestions after looking at the area.
Let's go outside.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think you could end up with having both
Yeah.
help canopy and the shrub layer as well.
And what about Judy's suggestion of keeping some
Snags.
snags?
Well,
And this tree here is fairly close to that fence.
Right, but it would, if it were only 6 feet tall, it could be 4 feet tall, that's fine. It's the nutrient that it provides on the habitat.
Yeah, I mean, at some point though, the height, I don't have the policy in handy, but there was a minimum
Right, but-
recommendation, right, for a height of a snag, and what was that?
There
I think
was,
it's 4 feet.
It was
Yeah.
6.
It might be,
Can
even
we
4
that?
feet
It
provides
was 6, but
habitat.
we
I
can
don't-
keep it, we can keep it lower than that.
Right, I don't see what the downside is, even if it's 6. It breaks down pretty quickly and it provides so much more nutrient value.
Agreed.
There's no-
as long as
because
It would,
doesn't-
it would just mean that the replacement would be less. That's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And the stumps can't be ground anyways because it's too close.
Wait,
Right.
wait, did you say in addition or in lieu of new trees?
No, it would be in addition. That's a big replication.
Well, the other thing to consider too is that's not gonna fall into the stream and block it. It looks like the way these are situated on the bank, at least from this angle. Let's see what this side looks like.
They don't look that close though.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Yeah,
Like this tree right here, clearly, if you left a snag, it would come down and completely go across.
But that isn't coming down. That wasn't
No,
one of the ones.
With this guy right here. God,
Right, right,
Don't have the right angle to actually make a call.
yeah.
I think you can accomplish all of that stuff that you're talking about, because I think if he's gonna have to do a replacement value for one of the trees, and you're gonna substitute that with a couple of small trees and then some shrubs, and then at the same time leave a snag, why couldn't you do the whole thing? Elaine
Right.
and Rebecca can come up with a plan that could include all those items.
I agree.
Okay,
And
so
I think like Bob says, the tree that's closest to the fence, that should come down.
yeah, you're just gonna have problems down the road.
Yeah, it's difficult to see in that photo, but if you were to really zoom in on it, you would see there are branches just hanging all directions, especially in that tree on the right.
Yeah, the thing too is you can trim those dead branches and do yourself a lot of good. Don't let them get so beat up.
Right, the tough part with the pines though is those dead branches go
Yeah,
up quite high.
they go up quite high, but
You need a bucket truck. Or a
They
climber
climb.
to get them.
They can climb them and
Yeah.
just trim off all the dead branches would be a safe thing to do.
All right, so
It's a combination
wanted
of
to let
things.
Elaine go out there and come up with a plan to
Yeah.
leave one snag and come up with a buffer and planting plan.
Yeah, I mean, that would work. That would work for me.
Okay. All right, so we'll have Elaine contact you to take a visit on out there and make some recommendations. So just to kind of rehash, the thought was the tree closest to the fence would be coming down. And the tree next to it, we'd want to leave a snag of, what are we saying, 6 feet, 8 feet?
6'9.5" inches.
6
Our
foot
standard
13,
is 6 feet.
6'13".
So I do have a question on that, because this is my first time hearing of the term snag. So I'm picturing this, that we're looking out our kitchen window across to that backyard area and just
Yeah.
seeing kind of a large stump.
Yeah, but you might also see birds nesting in it. So that's
Okay.
that's the plus side of it.
The
And
snags
we'll-
provide habitat value, places for animals to live and hang out, and nutrients, like Judy was saying.
Yeah, there'll be things hollowing, pieces of it out and creating,
Right.
Habitat.
And
Especially when
we can
you're
work
so
it into
close to
the, we can work it into the replanting plan, so it's not just sitting out there in an
Yeah,
aisle
right.
looking that you're gonna stare at, but when we come
Yeah.
up with the other stuff that we're gonna plant, we'll work it in there so that it's
Yeah.
aesthetically pleasing, or
Yeah,
as
okay.
aesthetically pleasing as snags can be.
Make it look good.
Okay.
All right, would
All right.
somebody
You're
like to make a
You're
motion
lucky to get some woodpeckers.
at 5 a.m.?
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, that tree coming down, or the limb coming down woke me up at 3 a.m. that
Yeah.
night. So, yeah.
That's
All right, would
enough
somebody like
say.
to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
And is there a second?
I made the
second.
motion. Okay.
Okay, all in favor? Haley,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes, yes.
and I also vote yes. All right, Adam, so either Elaine or Rebecca will be in contact with you to come on out and take a visit and talk it over with you.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you, Adam. Have a good night.
Yep, you too.
All right.
Hey,
Rebecca,
Bob,
Yes.
can you check to see if the homeowner's on from Coolidge Park?
Yeah, is there anybody here from 41 Coolidge? Going once, going twice, 41 Coolidge. Okay. No, there is not. All right, would you like to go to other business?
Sure. Let's see. So I think the first other business is the biomap. Is that the
Okay.
first one? I think I sent you links. So basically, the next couple of items are just sort of informational. There's some great resources that are out there that I think would help sort of in our thinking and give us justification. Like sometimes we understand, we know we should save trees, but we forget why, or like it becomes more difficult to justify why we're trying to do certain things. And so there's a bunch of tools out there that I just think is a lot of really, really good information. So one being this biomap. And this biomap sort of identifies throughout the state different areas that are, if possible, they should be protected for their value. And a lot of it is value for protecting biodiversity that is assumed in the habitat. So if you go onto that website, they have an interactive map. They identify these core habitats, and you can put those layers onto the map. Maybe we can, I don't know, Bob, if you can pull that up because it's kind of cool. But
What time was this email? Sorry, I just haven't had a chance to get through every one.
No,
of
that's
these.
all right. You know, I was just thinking, I'm like, maybe at some point I should probably share this with you, like share the screen with you so that I can do this too. I feel bad that you're doing it all. So I sent an email that said links for tonight, and I sent that around 3:18.
Okay, I got it.
You got that? All right.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't have a
So-
chance to look at all these.
That's all right. So the biomap, and this is just sort of informational, and I feel like we can introduce some of these things tonight, and then everyone can read on it and we can talk about it again. Just sort of we had some space tonight especially when they canceled. So I just thought it would be great if we could sort of at least get an introduction to some of these. So this tool, they did have a webinar on it, of which there is a recording if anyone is interested in watching it. I think I watched half of it and then something came up and I didn't get to watch the other half, but I have a link to that if anyone wants to watch it. It's a collaboration between Mass Wildlife and the Nature Conservancy. There is, like I said, actually, you could even do the map and it identifies some core habitats and let's see. Yeah. Then you can type Wakefield.
Hey, Rebecca, just to interject, there was a workshop on the MACC conference.
Mhm.
I'll see if I
Oh,
can get
cool.
a hold of that. And then there's also another webinar through the Environmental Business Council coming up on the 14th. If anyone wants to try to join on that end.
Thanks. Did you do the MACC?
Not that one,
Not that one.
but I might get recordings of all of them, so I'll watch it. Or
Yeah,
see
and
if
then
I
maybe
can
pass
steal
around. I
it
don't know if
or-
anyone. It's really interesting.
Yeah. And the
It covers a
EDC
lot of
event is
stuff.
usually free too, so.
I don't see it here when I'm looking at your screen, but there's a way where you can. I don't see the legend, but what if you go to where it says interactive map, Bob? Sorry to drive from here. Okay. So then you might have to type in, oh, there you go.
Whoop.
All right. So all right, do me a favor, Bob, do this. All right, ready?
Yep.
See the layers of paper, see the, it looks like the, over to the left. Yeah, click that. And turn off where it says biomap elements. Next one down.
Oops.
That's right. All right, and then turn on core habitat components. All right. So just when you have that biomap elements layer over it, it makes it kind of hard to see, but they go through and especially up on Audubon Road too. They identify these different core habitats. And when you go on to their website, they give you descriptions. And so, I don't know, I just thought it was a pretty useful tool. Back on their website too, they have like a whole tab on habitat restoration and what that looks like. So just thinking that maybe you guys want to browse through that website, clicking on all the different tabs, we can, you know, we have this map that you can look at. I think there's also, you can also click on critical natural landscapes. And it's a little bit more in there. They did it for the whole state. It's kind of cool.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I just wanted you guys to be aware of it. And like I said, the website is really fantastic. There's a lot of info, super easy to read, simple, straightforward. I thought it was really good. Ken, did you browse the whole website?
Yeah, I've been through it a bit. I mean, it's definitely brand new, so there's just a lot of new and great information, and they really made it user friendly.
Yeah.
I think it's a tool to just kind of inform us of like the different habitats and how important they are. I don't know if there's any kind of, you know, direct correlation to, you know, the Wetlands Protection Act or any kind of triggers associated with some of the layers, but kind of keep that in mind. But, you know, you're definitely going to learn a lot, you know, about the areas and how they interact with each other. So it's definitely cool to go on for a little bit and kind of go through it. And it's definitely easy too. You don't need to understand GIS or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that you would ever necessarily reference this in your order of conditions necessarily, but when you are going through and you have a regulated resource area and you're trying to identify which interests, you know, like for instance, a BVW, which interests of the Wetland Protection Act that would be valuable for. If you pull this map up and you see that it's got some of this stuff in there, you can pretty much assume that wildlife habitat would be one of the interests to protect for that BVW, something to that effect. So although it isn't a direct tool or mechanism to determine anything on. It just lends you sort of verification for when you're looking at other things.
Right, which is
That's
what
the
we
way I
need,
look
you
at it.
know, yeah, right. It just informs our
Yeah,
understanding of how important, a resource area may be.
it might even be very valuable for our open space plan, which we're also in the process of working on. So putting that into the open space plan, identifying areas for protection that are contiguous with other places or whatever else when we eventually do that.
Right,
Except
just
airport.
how,
Yeah,
just
that's
how
Logan.
Judy kind of mentioned, importance of trees in that watershed next to Crystal Lake. It's the same kind of situation where.
Yeah, exactly. Just more information.
Yeah, rare species core at Logan Airport. I think there's some sort of birds there that might be considered rare. I forget what it was.
I did not know that. Interesting.
It is.
Probably the snowy owls in the winter.
Hmm. Very interesting.
All right, so you guys could browse that. Next up was the Healthy Soils Action Plan. I'm gonna let Judy take over. She's really dissected that.
Sure have. I talked to you about this a couple of years ago when it was first brought about, and it was just recently passed. And what it is a guide for how we should start looking at soils in general and the value of organic soils. And what's especially critical is wetlands, because they're the largest carbon storage areas that we have. So heightening native plantings, really stressing the need for better soil management. It talks about trying to initiate rules that developers could use for post-development, pre-development soil use, instead of clear cutting it and stripping the top most beneficial layer of soil off, trying to preserve that as much as possible. Much better ways to replicate than is currently used. And one of the most interesting things I saw was they're looking at ways to include soils necessity in the Wetlands Protection Act. So, and just as a carbon stock, the carbon sequestration in wetlands, and really heightening the awareness of how valuable that is and how much of a carbon sink it is. I think people don't value the intricacies of wetlands and the value that they provide. They're seen more as a detriment most of the time to construction and as just a big wet area. But when you really look at it, and hopefully it's going to be part of the open space and rec plan, some kind of reference to it, why we need to start looking at wetlands differently through a different lens, why it's critical that we give much more protection to wetlands, much more care around the areas that are wetlands, if we hope to have any chance with climate change and with carbon uptake. Green infrastructure is also something that's stressed. More areas of impervious pavements. There are some areas that are entire streets, sidewalks, parking lots that are using the new technology. Rain gardens, using those along, Rebecca had mentioned, some of the subdivisions we have in Wakefield, if they're smaller cul-de-sacs, they have sidewalks on both sides. So is that really necessary? Could we use one side as the stormwater area? It could be a planted area, and that could be the stormwater uptake. That seems like a much better, then you're capturing your stormwater in your subdivision, which you're supposed to do, rather than piping it and sending it down the road. And I think that needs to be looked at much more closely as well, which is the fallback on just piping water and moving it down the road. Because you can have as many systems as you want, they're not going to replicate what we have here in terms of the natural areas, the wetlands. That's why I think snags are incredibly important. And it's, I mean, sometimes it's the smallest things that get people thinking, and we really have to change the mindset around this. And another thing that I kind of jumped out was providing more trees in grassed areas rather than just these straight grass lawns. You know, maybe the commission promoting more, you know, if people have a smaller lawn, have an edging of native plantings, keep encouraging that. I mean, you can't require it necessarily, but you can certainly ask, you can give recommendations, you can show visuals of how aesthetically pleasing it is, and that's much more palatable. And it's a great marketing tool overall, because the nicer your property looks, the higher your property value is going to be. So I think it's just changing the way we all look at it, but especially conservation wise, changing the way, how vigilant you are, and maybe getting harder nosed about replications and revisiting sites where they're required to replicate, whether it's for tree removal, anything else, doing site visits after the fact to be sure what is planted is what should be planted, not that you go out there and there are a bunch of ornamentals that are not going to provide value, that it's actually what you have approved. I think that's, I mean, that's been talked about before, and I think that is much more critical now with the rate of development, that there's follow-up on these sites. So maybe that's something the commission could look at. You know, maybe every 6 months, pick a certain, I don't know how you want to do it, but go out and ensure that these plantings are getting planted, because I wouldn't have the highest level of confidence that that's happening. But I think you should take a look at I mean, a lot of it you can skim through. I would say if you start at like page 82, that's where it's more relevant. It talks about the parking lots and denser developed areas. Something else I mentioned to Erin Kokinda, because they're looking at the META communities overlay requirement. And it speaks directly to when there's density in development, how much more critical native plantings are, and making sure that there are enough plantings. So I've asked Erin to have include conservation on the committee that they're developing. So I'm hoping that will happen, because I think having some input on the need to have plantings, not just all pavement, is going to be critical in these areas too. Because one of the overlays they're looking at is in Greenwood, where we know is a heavily flooded area. So I think it's a valuable document to look at. And again, I'm hoping I've asked them the consultants to try to include it in the open space plan somehow. So I'm hoping that's going to happen. And we have a meeting, the committee has a meeting next Wednesday. So if anyone wants to come, and I mean, I'll certainly report back at the next meeting.
And Judy, the MCAC who did the Healthy Soils Action Plan?
It was the state put it together. It's part of the 2030 net zero. They're trying to roll it into that. So they had a consultant firm, Linnaean Consulting, that put it together over the last, I think it was 3 years.
Okay, but it was initiated by the state. Okay.
Yes, and Vermont and Washington State both currently have healthy soil laws on the books that guide development practices. So it's not, I think it's something that a lot more states are looking at. You know, it's not a unique issue in Massachusetts.
Is this something that should get in front of DPW in the town more as well, considering, you know, streetscapes and drainage and everything that they do?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think so. I mean, that's, I think, going to be the hardest sell, is changing the mindset of the way things are done. Because
Judy,
I think,
No, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, I think a lot of times it's looked at as it's a more expensive option, which it probably in the long run isn't. Maybe in the short run it isn't either. It's just changing the mindset of the way things are done.
Do you know if there's a law or something on in the town that says you can only put grass in your grass plots. Is that, how does that come about?
In the grass strips in the front of your house?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think so. I think they just want people to be careful, not digging around if they don't know where utilities are, things like that.
mhm.
I don't think there's any rule against it. No, there's not one that I know. of.
So if you wanted to put something other than grass in your grass plot, you would be allowed to do that, or is it some?
Yeah, I've seen, there are a number of them in my neighborhood. They're like mini rain gardens, and it makes such a big difference aesthetically in front of the house.
Yeah, we have some nearby here that instead of the grass there, it's lined with hostas or something like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, the trees, they get planted right in that very small strip, and they always end up, the roots end up popping up through the
Yeah,
sidewalks
and pushing the
Right, but
curbing.
there are ways, there are new technologies that you don't have. I mean, I know you can't prevent frost heaves in New England, but there are other methods that they can use that don't have, the roots coming up and creating problems. There are solutions.
I've actually
that other
mentioned those
towns
before
use.
to Bill Renault.
Yeah, there's got to be a better option
There's,
than,
there's chambers where you just excavate more
Yes.
soil, and there's room underneath where the tree would grow for the roots.
Right.
And there's obviously different types of trees that have different types of root structures that, they can plant for.
yeah, the tree isn't always planted properly also. There may not be
Right.
enough soil, or they're not at the proper depth. And,
Right,
the tree ends up getting taken down, or the sidewalk ends up getting dug back up and the roots get
Right.
cut.
right.
I have
Yeah,
brought it
there's
up.
certainly
but
lots of
wasn't-
opportunities.
It wasn't heard in front of my face at least.
Yeah, you walk around any neighborhood and you'll see the roots, pushing the sidewalk up, and then eventually what happens is they come in and cut the sidewalk out, cut the roots out, repave,
Right,
and then it just happens all over again.
right. But I think now is probably a good time to maybe get the ball rolling, because they're looking at, I know Bill Renault and engineering are looking at using rain gardens in different areas. So I think this is a good time to try to, steer them to try something. And there's also, Vermont has the green streets. They use, it's like a paver on dead
Judy,
ends.
that's what I'm looking up right now, because I was gonna forward it to
Yeah.
Bob to try to give it to him. Want me to do that?
Yeah, you can
That'd
share
be
your
great.
screen,
I
that's
actually-
okay.
I think I might have provided some of that to Bill before as well,
That,
But I think
oh, here's the
on a
It's
website.
different
something that-
committee.
Yeah, I think it's something that there needs to be pressure put on people that are making decisions, that shouldn't still just be status quo. And I think Bill is looking at ways to do things differently, so maybe this is a good,
Yeah, why
I mean, I
not
think we can-
line the sidewalk with like pollinator gardens in some places? Or
Yeah,
things of
I've
that
suggested that
nature.
as well. Yeah, I think it's a great
Bob,
idea.
Bob, can you see, I just sent you a link, just because it's relevant to exactly what we're talking about. If you get it, it's just a link. It says cool info on green streets. That's the title of the email. And
Yeah.
in the second one down, there's just a link. Looks like I actually sent it to you guys on July 14th, 2022, if anyone wanted to pull their own email up, but
Page has moved.
dang. Okay. Let me see if I
Well,
have
it's
it.
it's innovative ways to use streetscapes that aren't just straight on pavement. Incorporating some green in it. Maybe encouraging more paver use in different, for driveways. I mean, they have so many different, there's a creeping time that you can put in between the pavers and driveways that looks beautiful. You can drive over it, run over it, bike over it. It is perfectly fine. So starting to look at different things that may be small scale that will catch on with more people is what I would like to see.
There are a lot of well-developed options out there, established that work in lots of scenarios. The information's
Right.
out there. It could definitely be integrated. It's just, like you said, convincing the right people to do it.
Right.
If I can get my hands on that green streets, one of the things that, and I did pass it along to Bill Renault, but one of the things that was really interesting about it is each section had different scenarios of the roadway. So if you have a 2-lane road, here's what you could do. If you have a 2-lane road and a bike path, here's what you can do. If you have parking on this side, parallel parking, here's what you can do. And it took all these different scenarios and still maintained what was required, the required widths for traffic and parking. And it just showed cleverly how you could change some of these things around and incorporate some of this green infrastructure and still have your required parking spaces or your required road width or your bike lane. So that, I wish I could find it. Unfortunately, that
And I
link,
think-
I'll try to
I mean,
locate it again. Judy, did you download it or we just have the link?
Yeah, I have it. I have it somewhere.
Yeah.
The town does have a pedestrian and bike plan. And some of the streetscapes show, the sidewalk and bike lane, but there's no green space. So I think this could be something that, again, needs to, I mean, I honestly, I can talk about this, and I have talked about this for I don't know how many years, and maybe one day it'll catch on. I'm not saying specifically to the commission, I'm saying other, overall. I think it's important, and it's not a huge ask. I don't think it's a huge financial outlay, and the return would be much more beneficial overall. Plus, it's such a solid marketing tool if you're looking to get more people into the town. If we have these innovative new new ways to do things, the town looks greener, it's healthier. I think that would attract more people than more pavement.
Yeah, agreed. I think there's a lot of other options rather than just a strip of grass that needs to be maintained, or a
Right.
single tree that is, sticking there on the sidewalk.
No, I agree. And a lot of the underused parking lots, getting some of the owners to reuse them as a planted area or a stormwater capture area. I mean, over on Audubon Road, Edgewater, now that more people are working remote, I'm sure there are areas, and that could be a marketing tool for them to say, hey, look what we did. We didn't have to do this, but we're good neighbors. And that, I think people want to work for companies that take an interest like that. So it seems like there are a lot of wins. It's not just asking the companies to put out some money to help out the town. It's going to help them as well. So I think it's
even rooftops, we're talking about green space.
Yep.
You can convert
Yep.
rooftops to gardens or other type of habitat.
Right. You can have a rooftop garden, and then
Yeah.
once it captures enough water, it flows down the downspout
Right.
into another rain garden area.
So Bob, if you go back to that link for a quick second,
Which one?
the one that said that it was no longer there,
Okay.
if you don't mind, sorry. All right, if you go to projects. And then Vermont Green Streets Guide at the bottom. All right, and if you,
Yeah, so here's like exactly what I was talking about. Instead of a strip of grass and a tree in the middle,
yeah,
there's all types of plantings that can be done.
Right.
can you scroll down a little bit? All right, and see, there's that black box there.
This one?
Yeah. All right, towards the end of this document, because it's pretty long. Let's see what page I'm on, around page 80 right now, but there are some
But
pages
even that
before
front
that.
page, it's the
Oh, yeah.
stormwater capture, and then they have the
Yeah.
walkway over it.
Yes.
I know, isn't that awesome? And they show that was one of the examples, and they show what it looked like, what a standard design would look like, and then they showed how you could incorporate something like this. And they have that towards the end of that document. I was saying is they have examples. It says Green Street and parking lot examples. And they go through, and it starts around page 71.
And it looks so nice.
Yeah. So if you start looking through that, you can see how they maintain different, they talk, like on the left, they talk about how they need certain parking, or like they have the travel lane and then they have the parking. And then they could just go through a bunch of different examples. A little bit further down, it has a bike path in it, bike lane. And about how like, I just thought it was really neat anyway, but let's see, I'm trying to find a good one.
Yeah, I mean, these are probably pretty much maintenance free,
Exactly.
as
That's the
opposed to having to cut that
the
grass in
majority-
front of that strip.
Yeah,
Look at page 80. That was the one I thought was kind of cool.
that's what they're built to be, is maintenance free. That's the
Right.
Like,
great
look,
part.
I'd much
at
rather
that
have that in
strip.
front of the house.
Right, I
Judy, I
agree.
think that's kind of like what you were talking about,
Yes,
about the grass strips and not needing 2 sidewalks on both sides and on a
Right.
cul-de-sac on both sides, et cetera, et cetera.
right. And this gives a buffer, because if you go around like Lake Quannapowitt now, the bikes are competing for space with the walkers, and so this gives a clear delineation of really who should be where.
So one thing
And
you'd
it
have to
makes
be
traffic
careful
easier.
about, and we just had this conversation, was, you know, street salt and plowing and pushing all that snow up onto the space here.
Yeah,
And what would that potentially do? That chloride.
That is an issue.
Because you know that's where when the plows come down here, it's all gonna get pushed to the side and piled up on the side.
Which this document is from Vermont, so they certainly would experience that.
It'd be interesting to see how it's dealt with or handled.
Yeah. I mean, I could always call them and ask them.
I mean, this may be a salt-free zone, who knows?
There's salt tolerance species as well out there.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's so much more aesthetically pleasing.
Agreed. And it's maintenance free.
Right,
Well, relatively, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
There's nothing that's maintenance free.
I mean, they might have to replace plants. But that's
right.
not.
But they won't need to be weed whacking and blowing, all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I like this here, like, first of all, there's concrete, sidewalks, which we don't have here.
Right,
Which is strange, because I know in the Midwest, they're very popular. Driveways and sidewalks tend to be mostly concrete.
they're too expensive.
The salt
But yeah, there's no
destroys.
trees. You got a
Right,
storm
but
drain right
that's
here.
a filter to the catch basin, which is
Yeah.
ideal.
Yep.
Hmm.
Very interesting.
And when we had that bioretention seminar, they had an example in Cambridge it was a lot of grasses that were more salt tolerant. I mean, Cambridge would definitely have a lot of salted roads. So there are plenty of alternatives, I think.
Yeah, I can see there's a swale right here
Yeah.
to channel the stormwater. You get some
Right, so they
riprap.
try to follow the natural patterns rather than trying to redirect water all the time. They
Yeah,
try
you
to
get
keep
riprap
natural-
here, and then you get a vegetated swale here before the storm drain.
Yep.
You're getting filtration right through here. You're getting water uptake.
Well,
Getting
that's the other
habitat.
critical thing with the soils, Healthy Soils Action Plan is the infiltration of water.
Yeah.
But that's at a critical point as well. And because there are so many underground systems.
Yeah, this one is really cool.
Yeah, I love that.
But there would be those who would say, well, it's a tripping hazard or a falling hazard. You know, my kid's gonna fall in there. There's
Yeah.
this little
So they
rail
put
here,
the
there's a
heat
tripping hazard, right?
My own 2 feet are my own tripping hazard.
There's no rail here. I mean, at what, 30 inches, I think you're required to have a railing? Not sure what that height is, but
It is 30 inches.
Yeah, it has to be 30 inches to need a railing. That doesn't look it.
no, that's.
But
not
would
totally
you, I
depth.
think that's more like a landscaping foldback. I don't think it's meant to be a railing.
Is that real or is that a rendering?
That's what I
It's a
was just
rendering.
wondering.
I think looking up above, it seems to suggest that typical Main Street is the top one, and this is an opportunity,
Yeah,
Right.
I think that's a
That's a
rendering.
look, yeah.
unfortunately. Seems like this is something you've got to sell the highway department on then.
I think I see some potential issues there.
Right.
Someone falling into the thing.
Well, yeah, there is a safety hazard.
Right, but it's not it's a thing of plants. If they trip into plants, you know, it's, you're
Yeah,
not falling
but-
into a vat of
No.
water.
If it's a woman in a, if it's someone in a wheelchair.
It doesn't
they
need
should
to look
drive-
exactly
yeah.
like this. It could be a little bit, it could be different. There's options.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, no, there are certainly opportunities for safety improvements there. You would need a you know, whatever, a small wall or something
Yes,
along the edge here.
Yes,
And this isn't gonna
yeah,
cut
some
it.
kind of barrier. Yeah,
This little 6-inch raised thing isn't gonna cut it. Yeah, I mean, look at this. I mean, this could be downtown, whatever, Lawrence. You know, with this nice vegetated buffer,
right, right.
certainly in the middle of a city somewhere, Lowell, Lawrence. Look
It's
kinda
probably
like-
Burlington, because I think it's Vermont.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying this.
Those
would look-
are out of our jurisdiction, really, Bob.
But this, the city feel of this, you know, wide street, large old buildings.
And
It's a
some
nice
of them,
touch.
like the next one, just incorporates some pervious paving along with it too, as opposed to just the.
The only thing they're missing is the vacant signs. Oh.
Yeah, very interesting. And we have all these islands everywhere with, you know, for the most part, just grass.
Right, right,
And a lot of them are snow storage.
right. And it would cut down on DPW work if they weren't, you know, weed whacking all these grass strips up and down Main Street and,
And replacing all
Blowing
these
leaves
curbs
off
that are
them.
lifting. All the
yeah.
curbs and sidewalks that are constantly buckling.
But if the commission starts thinking about potential bylaws, maybe one could be about some type of enhanced planting in some of these, you know, in any developed area. I mean, something to increase the plantings and increase the enforcement of what is supposed to be planted as well. I think that's important.
Here's a nice chart. With different recommendations.
So we have a couple of other items on our agenda.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we didn't, was there anything else in the links? Actually, there was, wasn't there?
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe do the floating wetlands one, because it might piggyback nicely onto what we were just looking at. And I just wanted you guys to know about it. So they did this floating wetland project. I think it was a collaboration between Northeastern University. There was a PhD student.
We've seen this before, Rebecca. Maybe,
I presented it.
yeah,
Yeah, a
Judy
couple years
presented it.
ago.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
they finished.
Another one of my rehashes.
Yeah, they
Judy, I
they
remember
finished.
Judy.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
And on March 28th, they're gonna present their they're gonna present the results. So I don't know if you guys are interested in going or listening. But they're going to look at whether or not only there was partially the phosphorus uptake, but the other component to it, which was really interesting, and I don't know a whole heck of a lot, was about whether or not that in the improvement of the habitat protected the zooplankton enough so that they could proliferate and eat, I guess, the algae, and whether or not that would reduce the algae growth and result in an improvement of water quality. So anyway, so I just wanted you guys to know that it's complete, and they're going to present the information to determine what they've learned from this project, which is fascinating. And Judy probably also mentioned incorporating that with the Stacy Levy spiral wetland would be really neat. So we have,
Yeah, this was a pretty insightful presentation that
Yeah.
the three of us.
they have a YouTube video describing how they did everything and how they also use it as an opportunity for outreach and education. They had kayaking tours, and they had some of these wetland plants were grown, I guess, in like a 3rd grade classroom.
Wow.
Anyway, just really interesting. There's also, like I said, there's a YouTube on it where they discuss it, and on at the MIT Museum on March 28th, they're going to give a presentation on what they've learned from this. I wasn't sure if anyone was interested. I wanted to let you know. In the event that that becomes a recording, I will certainly forward it to you guys and to see where it ended up.
Yeah, the YouTube video is attached to the site.
Maybe the commission could consider another seminar from offshoots, the ones that did the bioretentions, to talk about some of the things, the green streets that, the more innovative stormwater capture ideas. Maybe that could jumpstart things in the town. Any interest in that?
Yeah.
For us, or take it
For the commission
to
to
a
hold another
further-
seminar, yeah.
Yeah, further, bigger audience.
Well, for the commission to hold, they would host it, and then. No,
This was the other link that you had sent, Rebecca.
Yep, that was just, I get, there's a newsletter that I get. It's called Mass Woods. And this document was recently attached to that newsletter that I get. It's done by UMass, and I think if you scroll down more, I think it's UMass and UVM together. Yeah, and so I just thought it was a really easy read, an attractive document. I put it up on the website, or it should be up on the website sometime soon. But I thought it would be beneficial if you guys had it and took a look at it. It's, like I said, it's really easy read. And it's just basically talking about, as you would suspect, mature trees and forests. Well, it says it right there.
There's a good snag picture, which is what we were looking for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Page
That-
5.
this
There it
page
is.
is
We were
awesome.
looking for it for
That's
weeks.
right.
That's it right
I
there.
think we found this. It's great.
As a matter of fact, it looks remarkably similar to the one that we have found on the internet.
Right, that's exactly right. It is. It is the same.
So
I think.
it's probably some iteration of this.
Look how lovely that snag is over there.
Beautiful. But it was done so well and so straightforward and easy and visually pleasing that I felt that you guys would probably like to read that. Just a lot of really good information. Like I said, I put it on the website just under, what is it under, Judy? Is it under references or resources?
it's under resident resources.
Resident resources. Okay.
No, these things are great to have on the website.
Yeah. Yeah. They're really interesting. Maybe they give us a presentation sometime. I don't know if they want to travel this far. They'd have to do it over Zoom. Well, actually,
It would have to be over
offshoots
Zoom
with
anyway.
Zoom. Yeah.
Speaking of Zoom, was any legislation forthcoming on the extension of the emergency order that lets us do Zoom? Do you know anything?
I haven't heard anything
No.
about it from.
I thought it expires the end of March. I mean, it's not the end of March yet, so.
No, I think they extended it again, but Wakefield has committed to, at the very least, being hybrid. The Zoom is never going away. It's always going to be an option so that there's more.
No, I'm
access
just
to
wondering when we
people.
have to, when we do meetings in person, that's, I mean, when we go hybrid. Right now, we're not hybrid.
Yeah, they haven't outfitted the room in the town hall yet for it. It's a big undertaking, I guess. So are you interested in any seminars on the horizon or no?
So Judy, what had you suggested? Can you repeat what you had suggested?
Well, I think something maybe from that offshoots company about using more green systems for stormwater recharge. I think that's important.
And are they willing to do that? I forget, Judy. Did they do that pro bono or they charge a fee?
It was $200.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, a minimal
But
fee.
they also do planting, so maybe they could talk about, native plantings and creative way, things like that, that would be helpful.
I think that'd be great to do
Yeah.
again.
Yes, that would be great.
Agreed.
And we had a special meeting, right? It was not
Right.
It wasn't on normal.
No,
first
right,
and-
it was a
right,
special
first and
meeting.
third Tuesdays, right? It was a special.
Right,
I think that'd be great. I'd be in favor of that.
okay.
I can look into that. They have that on their website. They have services. They talk about green infrastructure.
Yeah, they've done some great projects.
Yep. Parks and streetscapes. So I still have her
Right.
contact information. So I will, you know what? I'll just restart that. That's a great idea.
Judy has many.
Thank you for acknowledging that, Teresa. I try to spread them around.
Could be too much for us to take, Judy. I don't know.
So yeah, the last one was fire remediation, more or less. So then we'll do green infrastructure and parks and streetscapes.
I'm sorry, Rebecca, what did you say? What was the last one? What was it?
Parks and streetscapes, which is
Okay.
probably very similar to that Vermont
Right.
green streets kind of thing. Yeah, maybe it'd be beneficial when we get this organized if you guys maybe invite some other boards who might be,
Yeah.
Right.
wanting to
That's what I was
listen in
thinking
on
too.
this.
Yeah, invite Bill Renault also,
Yep.
for sure.
All right, that's interesting.
I'd be willing to sacrifice a green strip of grass in front of my house.
You have one now, Bob.
What's there
Plant it.
now? Grass and tree that, yeah, it's just lifting up the sidewalk everywhere.
Plant some
Plant
pollinator plants.
Plant it.
Yeah.
And you know,
Something
Judy and I
drought
looked at that.
resistant.
Sorry, Judy and I looked at some areas, and you know, there's a lot of concrete in the right of way, you know, that perhaps could be reduced in some locations, along with it. You know, a lot of places have the sidewalk on both sides, depending on where that is, whether or not that would be doable. But there are a few spaces that we kind of browsed around, just taking a cursory look, that we thought we might be able to do some improvements on. Let's see.
Yeah, and there's places around town that landscape companies keep up,
Sponsored.
whatever, maintaining. And
Yeah, like an adopt a site.
yeah, and there's opportunities there, for them.
I
to
think
do
that would be
something like
huge because if they planted native plantings, it wouldn't be like some areas where they, have the mums in the fall and then they pull them all out. And, if they had the same, they wouldn't have to do a lot of maintenance.
Right.
It's good advertisement for them.
Right.
Yeah, I think that would be huge.
And they do a lot with like riverbed rock and stuff like that, which
Yes,
obviously doesn't need
yes.
water.
Yep. No, I
It
agree.
allows, percolation.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and Rebecca had a meeting with one of the Eagle Scouts
I was just
about,
that. That's so crazy.
about mapping the trails behind JJ Round and doing some signage and some spray painting, you know, the dots on the trees so that you stay on the trail, you don't get lost. Very
Yeah.
enthusiastic, so he's going to develop a plan and come back to the commission and present it.
That's
Nice.
great.
He might also look into, we were talking about, it just depends when he walks through. He's actually familiar with some of the trails already, which was great. But maybe identifying along, like whether or not we could create a new trail that would lead to a new access point. If there was town-owned property that had frontage on a street, he was going to try to figure out if there are different ways to come in and to access
Oh, wow.
different areas. So he has a map of the town-owned properties and all of that, and he's going to see if whether or not some of them are accessible in other locations. And he's going to use like a GPS map it all out, and yeah, come back to us with so we had that meeting, and he's going to digest the information and then come back to us. But I think that's what he's interested in doing.
And I think, Judy, do we have any, or Rebecca, do we have any tree wardens yet? Not wardens,
Trail
Trail.
steward.
yeah,
Trail
trail
Um,
stewards.
we
Is that
don't
still-
yet.
Because of
We-
the paperwork that we need, is that the idea?
Yeah, I haven't seen the waiver yet, but we have the
Okay.
waiver. And I put together an application. So then once we get names, they'll come to the commission and then you'll appoint them. You know, they'll be designated under the commission, which would be good.
And what are they called again? Tree
Trail stewards.
trail stewards, thank you.
There was a recent article in the paper with some Vogue kids that made trailhead signs. Did you guys see that?
Yep.
So, that's an opportunity if you want better
Yeah,
signage and more
that's a
stuff.
good idea. The wood shop, yeah.
Yeah, JJ Round, I've got it pulled up here. It's actually quite extensive. You know, when people think of
Yes.
JJ Round, they think of the basketball court and the ball field,
Right.
you know, right there. But really, all of this is JJ Round.
But
And
are there
who-
walking, are there paths in there now? Can you
There are
walk?
some
Yes.
paths in there now,
There's
yes.
trails, but they are not maintained. They're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're totally run over, low downs and everything.
And there are other access points along the perimeter that are town-owned lots that butt up to this, that there's the possibility so I was hoping that he would find some that are relatively easily accessible. And then we would at some point determine whether or not you needed to put like a little gravel parking spot there or something eventually, if that's what ends up, if they get high use or something, but and then figuring out if we can connect them, any ways to connect them. So you could have like a larger walking path. You might have to cross Oak Street. I did at one point talk to, I think it was Bill Renault about that. And if they cross Oak Street, would we be able to get like a crosswalk, like put in or something in the event that we felt that there was going to be enough pedestrian usage of that. So I don't know if that'll work out or how that'll work out, but and then trying to connect it into Maple Way, maybe.
Yeah.
I can't pack up the car with stuff now. I have things I have to bring back home.
Yeah, I actually, after a site visit here a couple months ago, I did walk back home through
Oh, right, that's right.
the
You said-
trails here. And
How
it
was that,
pretty-
Val?
It was actually difficult because it was very wet in one area that here, and I ended up having to go all around. And it was some pretty steep ledge.
How did you know which way you were going? Did you have a compass?
No, I've been back there before, 20
I
years.
was like,
Yeah, it's been a number of years since I'm back there, but I remembered it all. And ended up having to cut down and come down through between two houses here in Galvin. It was just too difficult to get through and around. The
Where's your
wetlands
house,
here.
Bob? Where's your house, Bob?
What's that?
Where's your house
yeah.
in relation to the park?
Right there.
Right where?
So where the blue dot is, Maple
Oh,
Way is
that's-
here.
So that's where you
There's a
walk.
trail.
from-
There's a trail cutting in right behind Maple Way here.
Mhm.
But it's very wet through here, so
Yeah,
most times you have to go around. And as you can see, very high elevation ledge through here, second highest point in Wakefield.
yeah.
So getting around and through this is difficult too. But there is a way, it's been a number of years since I did it, to come all the way around this way and up through the town forest back here and loop around and then come back down this way through my neighbors' yards. It's pretty wild back there. There's all kinds of animal trails,
Yeah,
cow paths, what do you want to call them?
yeah.
And, you know, the deer run through them, the coyotes run through them. All kinds of stuff is coming out. And the power lines, you know, are right here.
Yeah,
You can see them. So you actually can walk right out to Pond Street, Main Street. Which I've done. I've actually crossed. I've gone away through
and
and
it goes right
crossed.
down, goes right down to the Voke.
Yeah, right into Breakart. I've actually done that.
That's quite a hike. That's
Yeah,
not a
Castle
hike.
Clear. This is the substation right here.
Yeah,
And this was that lot up where the castle was.
yeah.
Castle was right here. Castle was right in there.
That's crazy.
We saw remnants of the foundation of the castle.
Someone recently gave me a stack of like old newspaper clippings about that castle. If anyone is ever interested, I have them. I'll probably just keep them in a file, but it was kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
I think there's like a plot plan that showed all the like the big long driveway, and there was like a second house, I think, like a little cottage or something, and then the castle, and just kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was something.
There's a lot of good reading.
Yeah. Rebecca, do you have anything else?
I do not.
We do need a letter of recommendation for Ken and Jim to be reappointed.
Oh.
Unless anybody's opposed to that.
No, can you prepare that, Rebecca? And or Judy?
I think so. Who signs it?
Do we need to vote for that? Might be
Yes.
some opposition.
You didn't get any more names, did you, Rebecca? Because I know they closed. Okay, so I guess.
No,
someone else
Sherry
did.
hasn't sent me anything.
Okay,
She did send out an email though, asking if we would put together, if we'd like to put together a letter of recommendation.
Yeah. Yep.
So are we voting on this, Bob?
Can I make
Yeah,
Right.
so would somebody like to make that motion?
like to make a motion to appoint?
Second,
And Jim or Ken, you can abstain if you'd like, or you can also vote for yourself. There's nothing preventing you from doing so.
Yeah,
So all in favor, Haley,
Yes.
Jim,
yeah, I'm gonna vote for myself.
and for Ken.
Ken,
I will abstain for voting.
okay, Paul,
Yes.
Peter? Is that a hard no?
Peter is
I didn't hear your vote, Peter.
he's frozen.
Microphone's not working.
no, he's frozen.
Uh,
Hmm.
He can't
Teresa?
be.
Teresa, how do you vote?
Oh, yes, enthusiastic, yes.
Okay, I also vote yes.
The motion.
The record show, Ken abstained and Pete got frozen.
And disappeared.
Yeah, it dropped off. Let's see, Judy, do you have anything else?
No,
All right. That being said, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is
Second,
there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Haley,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Peter, you back?
Back.
Okay.
You know
we
what?
got-
I realized it went to I was getting Wi-Fi signal from my iPhone rather than from my Wi-Fi. It just picked up on the wrong thing. That's why I was losing. I kept coming in and out.
Were you in favor of voting for the reappointment of Jim and Ken?
Yeah. Yes, I tried to make a motion, and I was a little annoyed you guys weren't receptive to it.
Oh, okay, so the votes have been retallied, and we have one abstain and the rest 4. And also, Peter, would you like to vote to adjourn?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and Teresa,
Yes.
I also vote yes. Good night, everybody.
Thank you
Thank
to
you.
Judy and
Right.
Thank you,
Good night,
Judy.
Rebecca
Thank
for
you,
all that
Rebecca.
info today.
Bye-bye.